Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for joining in with us once again on The Grind Path. I'm your host, Olabisi Akande. And for those who might be new, just finding this channel, on The Grind Path, we just basically discuss the grindings of people or the grinds that people have gone through, that they have achieved, so that this can also serve as in German, we say Vorbild. As could serve as a Vorbild or serve as a motivation for us. Sorry, we are Germans here. We are African Germans or German Africa. Ekue. And I have a very important guest today. I'll give a brief about the guest. His name is Ekue, and Ekue Farell Folly. Farell Folly is a global lead and senior expert in industrial cybersecurity at TÜV SÜD. I believe for those of us who might know TÜV SÜD, it's a global company, to call it that way. With about 20 years of experience in defense, critical infrastructure, and digital transformation. He is a retired lieutenant colonel. He has led large international teams and designed cybersecurity strategies for the United Nations, US Army AFRICOM, and the Ministry of ICT in Benin Republic, the one we Nigerians call Benin Republic. Is that the way you people call it? I hope, in case Nigerians, we might be wrong. Is it Benin?
Usually we said Benin because we know it's our country, but I think Nigeria want to call it Benin Republic to make sure it's not the city in Nigeria. But for us, we are less aware about the city in Nigeria, so we just said Benin. But of course, it's a republic.
It's Benin Republic. Okay, so Farrell is finishing a PhD in IoT security at Bundeswehr University Munich. You finished the program already, right?
Yeah, I finished. I submit. Probably I will be defending in 2026. So I'm just waiting for my defense date.
Oh, okay. So there are still things to tidy up. All right. So that's the finishing. Yeah. On his research is on malware propagation in IoT. Internet of Things, which has received international recognition. He holds certification including CISSP, Google Cloud Architect, IEC 62443 expert. He served as a counselor at ICANN, which shapes internet security policies and mentoring global innovators. Fluent in French, English, and German, with additional Spanish and Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. He's an accomplished speaker and advisor, bridging military rigor, advanced research, and industrial cybersecurity. In Yoruba, we usually say ejanla. Today, our net has caught an ejanla, which is big fish in English. So we caught it big fish. Thank you very much for being here, Farrell.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm honored to be here and I'm willing to share my experience so that the community can benefit from it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So basically, based on the profile of Farrell that I read just now, the topic is very close to what he's working on currently, which is cybersecurity. And what I'm discussing today is getting into cybersecurity in 2026, right? Is it still a hype? I mean, there was a time when it used to be like, oh, just get into IT or anything in IT, whether coding, cybersecurity, DevOps, just get into it. But we know that AI has impacted a lot of things. A lot of things have changed or are even still changing. What should I know if I decide to go into cybersecurity in 2026? What should I know? So that's basically what we are going to be discussing vis-a-vis the background and experience of Farrell Folly. Good. So Farrell, so the first question I have for you, how did you get into cybersecurity? Just like I mentioned earlier, you had a background in military. How did you find yourself into cybersecurity?
So basically, you know that in military, we usually care about information, sensitivity of information. So the DNA of a military is usually how to protect critical information. So there have been decades of writing standing operating procedure to make sure like data are not is not leaked, etc. So Army in general has a long-standing, let's say, posture regarding information security in general. But of course, I didn't start my career in the Army directly in information security. So I got training at the Royal Military Academy in Belgium. So it's the University of the King. So I was selected and did my military training there in the Polytechnic faculty. So when I graduated, I was more into telecommunication and computer science, computer networks. And I like mathematics a lot. And I was mostly into coding, decoding, and cryptography. That's what I like. And when I was in the Army, I was ICT officer, it means information and communication technology officer. So my job was to set up communication network for the Army. If we have a new, let's say, deployment anywhere, if you have a new HQ, I have to set up military communication. And of course, it always goes with security. But my main goal was at that time not really security or to make sure everything is secure. Of course, I have to follow the SOPs, but I did not implement security at that time. It's only around 2016 when I joined the United Nations. I was a military staff officer, so my job was information manager for the whole mission. It was in Mali at the multidimensional mission in Mali. So I was the information officer for the whole force. There were 12,000 soldiers on the ground. And then security has become a very big concern for me. And I had to design secure communication interaction from Mali to New York headquarters, from Mali to NATO, because it was a diverse footprint. There were people from Europe and they wanted a separate network and all those stuff. So I have to start designing military secure communication for them. Before that, I have been involved as technical director at the United States Africa Command in Stuttgart. It was around 2010, but it was more a chairman role. So I have to write and drive SOPs. It was a program to build up. It was not implementing cybersecurity, although it has a lot of to do with cybersecurity. So after this experience in the United States, I decided that, okay, I might go deeper into this cybersecurity topic and specialize myself into cybersecurity because I saw it coming. And my first decision was like, I want to do a master in cybersecurity. I already hold a master, but I wanted to do another master in cybersecurity. Then it was difficult to find a program because cybersecurity was so new that there was no university offering a master program in cybersecurity. Then I decided to do a PhD because then I can learn myself, I can have more experience, and I can learn on my own space. Then that's how I landed into starting a PhD in cybersecurity. I wanted to do cryptography and mathematics because this is what I like. But the professor I found here in Germany told me that cryptography was already mature. So it will not serve me anyhow to do another work in cryptography. Nobody may be interested in the results. So he told me to broaden a little bit. That's why instead of choosing encrypting information, I chose the global topic, which is about cyber security in general. So that's how I even learned to Germany, because I never planned to come to Germany. So I was accepted in a PhD program at the university. I used to come every 3 months to meet my supervisor until I get locked in Germany during COVID time. So that's why I got stuck in Germany. I never planned to be in Germany. And then I got locked down for 2 years. I had to find a job to survive, and all the story has started. My son joined me, and then he started school. I have to adjust my plan. So in short, that was my journey to cybersecurity.
That's it would be correct to actually say like cybersecurity is like a second career for you.
Yes, cybersecurity definitely a second career for me because my main career was in the military. Even when I was in the military, I hold different responsibility and many other things. But when I started to do cybersecurity, the PhD, I still wanted to go back and serve in the army. But the thing is, in the army, you cannot be out for more than 5 years, and my PhD actually has been longer than that due to different circumstances. Then at the end, I decided to get early retirement as a colonel, and then I'm retired, but I'm starting a new career in cybersecurity. So it's a
Nice.
second job for me.
So all
Transition
of
from
this,
the
all
military.
I mean, you said all this, or is it that you were trying to run away from physical attacks to virtual attacks? Like,
So actually, this is a good question because somehow I find myself having a very unique profile, because I am both experience in physical security, safety, and virtual security, which is cybersecurity. Because I've been trained in the military, my military training incorporate like airborne. I jumped from plane. I was a commando in the army. This is my specialty. So I was a really fit soldier. I've been deployed to very critical area. Like when I was in Mali, I got deployed in Kidal, which is the area where the most wanted terrorist in the world after Ben Laden was deployed. So I was in that area, and so you can know that I was very close to very critical, let's say, battlefield. But at the same time, I was very academical and technical in cybersecurity and security. So now when I'm working in companies, it's easier for me to join both because I have those
so
two background
yeah,
in my mind.
you have like field experience. So not,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you have field experience, which is which is very relevant. Which is very
yeah, yeah.
relevant. Yeah. Just to get into the matter of it, since you started your career as a cybersecurity expert, have you ever had any regret?
No, I have never regretted because actually I like cybersecurity. It's my passion. Whenever I'm doing cybersecurity, I don't feel like I'm working. That's the thing. There are many things you will tell me to do, and I will be very lazy, but I can be doing cybersecurity during the night. So when I started the journey, I wanted to be a hacker. So the first thing that I started to do is learning offensive security OSCP certification, which is penetration testing, like hacking programs. And I had to learn programming, learning very difficult programming language like C, C++, and Haskell, all those programming languages so that I can be able to, let's say, hack into SQL database. And this is something I really like. But at the point I was like, no, I don't want to be the very technical guy who is always awake at night looking for error in code. I want to be someone who can shape things at a larger scale. That's why I choose a different path. But deep inside me, this is something I like and I can do from time to time.
Good.
So yeah, I think it's my passion.
No
It's not
regrets.
like I'm
No,
no regret at all.
no
No
eye
regret.
pain, no back pain, no regrets.
No eye pain, no back pain. It's like for me, it's until the end of my life or until I cannot no more. So
Okay, that good to know. I mean, like in psychology, we often say like a man is most happy when the mental picture of happiness in his head is the same with the reality in his hand. So when what is in your head is the same with what you see in front of you, that is when you are most happy. It's the same for food. If how you wish the food would be so sweet is the way it is sweet in front of you, you'll be so happy. If you wish the food should be
yeah,
more sweet, it should be sweeter. But right in front of you is not that sweet. You are not happy because I wish there should be something else.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. Okay, good. So now let's talk about the field. Let's talk about the field itself. So, what are the common misconceptions that you think people have about your job?
So, in general, people will tell me, I know someone, he is also expert in cybersecurity. So, and the thing is, the person might have a different profile than I do. And people will be comparing both of us as if we were comparable. and not as if we were just in the same field. So we can see cybersecurity like the medical field. This is a comparison I like to make a lot. Even my PhD, I use epidemiology technique to apply to computer science. Like malware propagation is like virus propagation. And in the medical field, we also have virus propagation. So I use technique that doctors or experts in epidemiology use to stop epidemics. I use the same techniques that I apply in computer science. It's very mathematical background and technique that they use there. So let's come back to the topic. If you see cybersecurity as the medical field, in the medical field, you can have managers, you can have insurers, you can have hospital managers, and you have doctors, you have nurse, you have different kind of profile. You can have accountants, you know, you have different kind of things. They are still in the medical field. The same apply to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, there are lawyers, there are insurers, there are technical people, there are many different profiles. But someone who is a lawyer in cybersecurity doesn't know the technical thing that I know. The same way that someone who is a lawyer in the medical field cannot practice as a general practitioner. They are in the field, but the general practitioner is a technician of that field. So in cybersecurity, it's the same thing. Me, I'm like someone who is a general practitioner or a specialized doctor. I know my field. I know technique of my field. I can write code to secure a computer, to secure a network, to do many things. But at the same time, there are people who are just governance people, looking about regulation, privacy, many general topics that are management and has nothing to do with technical. And usually people will think that, okay, someone got an MBA or a master in cybersecurity, they can compare to another person who has a master in cybersecurity, but this person is actually technical. It's like the general practitioner, you know, and the other person is just a manager. He may know, like you are IT management person, you cannot compare this guy to IT developer or to someone who study computer science. So these are a big misconception that people usually have in cybersecurity.
So basically, we could say, we could say cybersecurity is not a monolith. So it is not just one thing. It's very diverse.
It's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem. So what would you call your own specialization?
I think the beginning I was very technical. So technical in cybersecurity, network security, application security, cloud security. Those are the things that I really have as let's say experience and background and specialization. But I also work a lot in drafting policies and regulation. So my job, for instance, at ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. So they manage the whole domain name system. Whenever someone registers a website or create a domain name, there is always a link to ICANN. It's ICANN who manage the root system in the world. And to do so, they have counselors. They have 21 counselors around the globe. And this must be like at most 5 counselors per continent. So I was one of the counselors for Africa, sitting in Los Angeles, to draft policies about next generation domain names. Like today, we are able to .Nigeria before it was not possible. You know, today we can have .München with umlaut before it was not possible. So we work on that council from like 2016, almost 10 years, to make sure that if people are using it, what problem it can create, what impact it will have on the business, what impact it could have on privacy, on many other things. Not the technical side, but from my technical background, I can already anticipate, and the policy that are drafted will be more easy to implement. Of course, on that council, there are many people who are lawyers, who are intellectual property experts, etc. So I have this experience as well, and it helped me bridge the gap between technical requirement and business requirement. And that's why here at TÜV SÜD, I'm the global head of cybersecurity services. So I oversee all cybersecurity service deployment across the globe. TÜV SÜD is a big company with more than 30,000 employees, and we have global footprint in more than 100 countries across the globe. And yes, it's because that I know the technical side properly. I done my PhD in very specific area, but at the same time, I can match it to the business requirement. That's why I know both sides of.
Awesome. Aside from not being a monolith, what other misconceptions do you know of like people have about cybersecurity?
Yeah, usually people think cybersecurity is difficult. Yes, technical cybersecurity is difficult. We have to assume that it's a lot of mathematics. It's like creating a new programming language. It's a lot of mathematics. Drafting a nice database. The one who invented Oracle was mathematician. But it doesn't mean you have to study complicated mathematics before you become a developer. It doesn't mean you have to study a lot of mathematics before you become, let's say, computer architect. That means you can enter in cybersecurity with different profiles. You can study history and go into cybersecurity. You can be a lawyer and get into cybersecurity.
Nice.
Above all, you need motivation. That's all. You need motivation. When you have motivation, you can force any doors and go forward. Nice. The thing is, you just have to know what you like, what your skills are, and what match your vision. Then you can get into cybersecurity. Of course, it's not a 1 or 2 years journey. It's a long-term journey. It's a long-term journey. And I think everybody who is interested can get into cybersecurity and even stay in their own sector, because you don't have to switch sector, because cybersecurity can affect your sector. You are in logistic, you can learn cybersecurity for logistic. You are in the medical field, you can learn cybersecurity for the medical field without having to be purely cybersecurity. Even myself today, of course, I was purely cybersecurity expert, but when I came into TÜV, I have to learn cybersecurity applied to energy sector. I have to learn cybersecurity applied to chemical sector. I have to learn cybersecurity applied to pipeline. And this is a different thing, completely different realms that I have to learn. And I didn't know before, because we have to certify companies. So I think this is it. And people from those energy sector also now are trying to learn what cybersecurity aspects should we consider when we are building our energy system.
Okay, I lost your visual for a while, but
let me see.
Okay, good. So, you've mentioned there are different branches of cybersecurity. Which one do you think is I know, you mentioned your passion and all, but which one do you think is the easiest to get into? Like, okay, someone, maybe they have like a science background or not. Maybe like you mentioned history earlier. Which one do you think, okay, you want to get started? Or it doesn't even matter. I want to get started today. What should I do?
Yeah. Before you started, of course, you want to know what is possible, and doing what is possible is first to take awareness courses. Awareness courses will let you know what you yourself as an individual you should be worried about, or you should know when it comes to cybersecurity. How to secure my phone? What are the kind of attack that I can get? How can people compromise the device? You will know different kind of it. And then the second level are what are the regulation and policy, the law that are into cybersecurity. Like, okay, to protect my data, are there any law that say how it should be protected? Are there any law protecting my own data? Are there any law preventing or punishing someone who is doing something that they might not do? So you should know the regulatory landscape. So first of all, awareness to know what cybersecurity is, technically what is possible to do and what is not possible to do. Secondly, the regulatory landscape. And then the cybersecurity business. All those things are things that you can learn in a few weeks, or online video can help you do quickly. After these 3 steps, or these 3, let's say, domain of knowledge, you can already have an idea what cybersecurity is and what you yourself could be good in or what you could do. Because you need to know what a cybersecurity business is. You need to know the law and regulation that apply. And then you need to know technically what is possible. Then you will find yourself, I'm not a technical person, that I cannot do, but maybe I'm a policy shaper. I can work in drafting new regulation. There are people who know nothing about cybersecurity, but who know what must be protected and what people have to do when it comes to their data, when it comes to a car that are driving autonomously, when it comes to surveillance at home. They are not experts, but they know from their experience or from their knowledge what must be done to make the use of cyber or digital tools safer. The third one is the business part of cybersecurity.
Is there maybe like a website you think one, sometimes it's easier to say for you, you've walked this path already, but for somebody who is just getting started, like, where should I even go? Should I like go for a boot camp? Is there like a website you can recommend? Is there like a book you can recommend? Like what? Yeah, I know you mentioned what to do, but like, where do I find these things? I mean, trying to get practical with it.
I think most of the online learning platform have a lot of offering when it comes to cybersecurity.
So like
courses.
Coursera,
Udemy, they have a lot of Google themselves, Amazon, AWS, they have courses. Microsoft, they have introductory courses for people to know what cybersecurity is. In like 1 to 4 hours, you will get a big picture of what cybersecurity is. And then there are companies like SANS, SANS, SARNS is one of the most famous or most renowned company in cybersecurity. And they have training who can cost like 20,000 euro. They are the most expensive one. But they also have introductory courses that sometimes are open to people free. I think I shared some link with you on the Munich community earlier that people can apply for to get introductory courses.
Yeah, I saw some of them, but some of them mandate. Yeah, but some of the ones, I think I saw the ones you shared. It actually requires you to be in the US. Like one of them requires you to be in the US.
There were afterwards some link for non-US people, but I don't know if I shared it. But yes. Online learning platform will help a lot. Then there are like specialized company like Cisco who manufacture routers, for instance, also offer courses. And there are many other companies that will offer trainings. But before you get there, you have to know first of all what you are looking for. And to know what you are looking for, is good to have online training that are cheap or free that get you what would be interesting for yourself.
But now, good. I've known how to get started, where to look when how to get started. Now the next question is it still worth it to do it now? Someone say like, oh, maybe if you started 5 years ago, it's real nice, but now there's AI. Is it possible that if I get started now, before I finish, AI would have taken everything over? Should I still consider it, or should I go and do something else?
So the first easy answer is yes, we should, we must, we can, First of all, because if you look at the trend every day, there is a lack of cybersecurity experts. Germany itself is expecting to have almost like 10,000 of cybersecurity experts that are lacking the German industry.
Deficit,
and deficiency, and it's the same in the world globally, because cybersecurity, I told you the beginning, it's difficult because mathematics, computer science, many people do not want to embrace it. But at the same time, I show you now that you do not need to be technical and can still be in cybersecurity, of course. So the second thing is now cybersecurity even is at the tipping point where we need more experts. Before, cybersecurity was mostly limited to IT system, traditional IT system. We have an IT network. We need to secure it. We need to secure our computers. We need to secure our router. We need to secure our program. That's all. But today, and you can see, that's why I am in industrial cybersecurity. Before, no one thought, for instance, about cybersecurity for a lift. But But today we need, because now lifts are connected. That means someone from another country can hack into the lift you are taking in for your interview and stop the lift. That's problematic. We have cybersecurity issue for a power plant. Someone can be able to shut down a whole power generator. This is not a traditional IT equipment. But this is something that can be shut down from cybersecurity. That was not a cybersecurity issue before. Today, someone can, let's say, hack into a chemical plant and poison the water that is used to manufacture a medicine or the water distribution system. And that makes people can die. Today, with cybersecurity and operational technology system, when they are compromised, it has more damages than before. Before, you will lose a computer and you will lose, let's say, reputation. But today, you will lose money and people can die. Cybersecurity can kill people in hospital. Before it was not the case because none of these equipment were connected or were using IT services. And today, this is the case. The case is IT equipment are using in field that were not traditionally used in IT. It means cybersecurity compromises can have, let's say, unprecedented damages than it had before. And there are a lot of examples. Recently, you saw that a whole airport could not function because
there are this blue screen of death.
Yes, people can now hijack a plane with cybersecurity attacks. People can just stop the energy supply system. And before, cybersecurity was not there. When you are a cybersecurity expert, you are in the office, you think about your routers, your computer, and that's all. But today, there are many companies that also have what.
Super. Okay, good. So, thank you very much for your responses. So we've touched those who are total beginners. Where should they look at? How should they get started? But do you have any tips for somebody who probably is already in IT in different fields? Maybe a network admin, could be like a full stack engineer. It could be like a sysadmin. So, for example, and they want to transition into cybersecurity. So, what tips do you have for them?
Yeah, basically, if someone is already into IT or computer networks, they are like more straight path, but it's not limited to. So what do I mean? When you use the OSI model, for instance, Open System for Interconnected Networks, you have layer 1, layer 2, layer 2, etc. So for each layer, there are security consideration. At the application layer, web security, code security, etc. There are many things that can be secure. So if you already develop or write code, then you might be into seeing how you can develop more secure code, and then this is also a field of cybersecurity that are interesting. When you are someone who work mostly at the section layer, cookies and all those things, that means you can think about cryptography, many other techniques that can be used at that layer. If you are into networking, routing, switching, then there are also network security. So you might be more into like developing SOC system operation center, security operation center to monitor how network is going, etc. At layer 1 also. So for every layer, there are cybersecurity consideration. So depending on the, let's say, IT field you are specialized in, there is a more obvious or straightforward path to go into cybersecurity. But I don't think one should be limited to. Basically, I come from a network background. And then when I wanted to specialize in cybersecurity, I was more into learning about firewalls, setting up VPN. I was less into web security because web security involves more like coding, developing. I know how to write code, but I'm not a developer. So thinking about web security was not my primary purposes when it came to cybersecurity. Of course, I know what it should be, how it should be, what should be the consideration, but someone who is a developer will enter easily into cybersecurity applied to web more than me who come from a network background. But at the end, when you become a cybersecurity expert, you have to know all about cybersecurity, but then your background will shape in which field you know more about, because you already have an IT background in this specific field. So I would say that people will start from the field they think they are more comfortable with, but then they can later develop or deep their knowledge in any other area that they think is interesting for their job or their career path.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how relevant are certifications if one wants to go on this journey? How relevant are
Yeah,
they?
I think certification is a faster path than going to school, because school programs are usually very long, and they might be struggling because you have like deadline, exam, and doing other things that might not really align with cybersecurity. The commitment are more difficult. So, and it's also sometimes too much academic. So you will not always see the link between the theoretical thing that you are learning compared to the thing that you will need. But it gives you a broader background for a longer journey. So academic studies are good in that way, but certification gives you a quicker snapshot about what is in cybersecurity, how it should be applied. So me, I would say certification is relevant, but not the where to end, because people will think that, oh, this guy has a certification in this field, then he knows everything. No, certification, I would say, gives you a chance to people to know what you exactly know. It can give you, let's say, an interview process, but your background, your knowledge, your broader knowledge will just make you stay in the job later. Certification will not do the job for you. Certification is
It
just
can open. It will open the door.
yes, it
It
just
will open
open
the
the door. But staying in the room will depend on what you know.
What other
Just don't
things? Yeah.
stick at the certification level. So people will pass a certification exam, but someone will fail, not because they are less knowledgeable, because they think other way, and they might be really better at doing the cybersecurity than someone who just studied the certification exam question and went to and passed. So it's a double double-sided sword, but certification are good to let you get into the interview process, open doors, as you said.
Yes. Yeah.
But what keeps you in the business is your broader knowledge, and that's from the academic side. It can help you a lot, but this is a longer journey. So
that leads me to like this. They always say like this T-shaped. So where like you always have T as a horizontal and a vertical. So the vertical is your depth, where you are very deep in your area of domain that you're an expert, what you're expert at, and the horizontal is like your breadth. So the other areas, what you know, and how they influence they influence your depth.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you put it in the other side, you can see the horizontal. If it's at the bottom, it's like a pyramid. The more you know at the base,
at the base,
the higher you can go at the top. So
true.
this is what I would advise people to know. So certification are just going to the top, but academic or your own, like you don't have to go to school, but you have a longer learning journey. So the broader you know, the easier for you to get further in the
you don't have to go to school. It's tricky. The reason why I say it's tricky is this. Yes, normally you might look at it like, you could actually know these things without the actual school thing, but the main challenge is sometimes it is the school certificate that you actually like your first hurdle to actually like cross. I mean, I get up if you are like in the West, for example. But for example, for somebody who is coming maybe from West Africa and want to like move to here, even sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes before they even consider what they want to first ask like, do you have like the standard school? Like, are you like certified in school? I don't know whether you get what I mean. I like certified in school. Do you have a degree at least? The reason I'm saying that is because somebody will now come and say, school is overrated. Even there's this guy Ekue that we listen to that said it's not really about the school. So the person would not know that the school could take care of other things that will actually help you on this particular journey you want to work on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think, we're actually at the end. So the only question I have is, AI is here and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. So what impact is AI making in, how is AI impacting the cybersecurity industry? What should somebody who is coming in have an idea of? What both the pros and the cons? How does AI help you to quickly ramp up in mastering cybersecurity, and what are also the challenges that AI poses to the field?
Yeah. That is a very good question. And what I think is there are two sides of the issue. AI solve issue, but at the same time, AI brings new issues. The first thing, yes, the first thing that AI is bringing a solution that, for instance, it help people, let's say, automate the process of discovering malware, discovering breach in the system, and also help people, let's say, deal with incident more faster than before, because it can generate playbooks, it can learn from existing threats and give you a way to deal with those threats very rapidly. But before, a network engineer or security analyst will have to understand and learn and need time to get to the threat before they can, say this is the solution. But AI within a minute can already gather all information from any kind of source that it connect to give you the exact solution that you need. So it saves time. It saves resources. You don't need any more like 10 SOC analysts to in your network. You can reduce from 10 to 1. I'm just saying a number. I have not verified it, but you can, instead of needing 5 or 10 people, 1 people will be enough, because with 10 people you lose time more into finding the right information. But with AI, you have the right information there. The point is now to make a decision, and AI will even help you in making the decision, because it will tell you this decision has been made here, it didn't work, or it provides this output. This decision was made there, it gives. So it gives you, let's say, knowledge and approach to the solution very fast. I was in a Google security meeting last year, and they said they show how AI helped them, let's say, automatize playbooks and generating new playbook just on the shelf, just like that. But before, all playbook need to be written before you can do it. So you need to think about many use case and scenario before you can be able to deal with them. But with AI, even if you have a new trade, a 0-day trade, it can help you generate a playbook on the floor. So that's what AI is bringing. But at the same time, due to how sophisticated AI is, you can use AI to generate threats that cannot be detected by existing solution. Because malware has been discovered somewhere, it has this impact. So AI can also help you know what version of this AI you can have that will not be detected, because it has access to all the versions that are detected. So that means attacker now use AI also to modify a virus, a malware, to let's say bypass security system, because AI is also good at looking at millions of possibility at the same time. That means detection becomes harder than before. Detection becomes much more harder than before, and distinguishing between what is fake and what is true has become harder than before. You all know about this Nigerian king or Nigerian guy.
Prince.
Yes, Nigerian prince who want to give money, and usually human being or system that we built into place will look for a grammar error. We look for fake link. We look for the syntax. But now with AI, you can generate an email that seems very legitimate from someone who is well educated, and in a way that traditional system could not detect it. Even a human being will now start having doubt because the message is well written that it can look like it comes from a legitimate person. So in this size now, it's becoming very difficult for system to distinguish between what is fake and what is not fake before, because let's say the criteria that we use to make this detection can be easily bypassed by AI system.
Understood. Thank you very much, Farell Folly, for your insights into the topic. Cybersecurity, get into cybersecurity in 2026. I hope that somebody really find this very helpful on their journey. Thank you very much. And I hope that when I reach out next time, I'll be able to also get your professional perspective. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
All right. So thank you, listeners, and catch us on another episode of The Grind Path. Bye.
Bye-bye.